Hi, I'm Dan Leonard in the East.
And I'm George Whittam in the West.
And together we are East-West Audio Body Shop. Well, this week we've got a great guest. Someone who's got a great awards program going on for the voice industry, Rudy Gaskins. It's the Voice Arts Awards, and he's going to come here tell us all about it.
You got to be here live for this one. I know a lot of you have questions. He'll be here to field them for you live on the show. It's going to be fantastic. I'm going to talk about keeping your booth cool, or at least ventilated. I'm here in Vegas right now visiting clients. It's 118 degrees. Some of you are probably dealing with heat issues, not quite that severe, but I'll give you my tips on how to improve your situation.
And to cool things off, we're going to go back to the old days of East-West Audio Body Shop. We're going to answer your questions live on air. So if you want to participate live and be in the show with us, write to us at ewabshop@gmail.com. That address right there. Tell us your problem or your question, and we'll talk about it live. That's East-West Audio Body Shop, Monday night, 9 o'clock in the East.
And 6 o'clock here in the West.
And join us in the chat room. Nothing's better than that. A big party every week. We'll see you there.
He's the home voiceover studio engineer to the stars in Los Angeles, California. A Virginia Tech grad whose knowledge of the latest recording gear is second to none. He's a voice actor and the home studio master, hailing from Buffalo, New York. His home studio skills and knowledge of voiceover recording is unmatched. When Dan and George talk shop, people listen, and the talk continues tonight. Welcome to East-West Audio Body Shop. And now, live from his high-tech facility in Santa Monica and his penthouse studio in Buffalo, here are George Whittam and Dan Leonard.
Brought to you by our sponsors, Harlan Hogan at VoiceOver Essentials, VoiceOver Extra, and Edge Studios. All right, got that out of the way. Hi, I'm Dan Leonard in the East.
And I'm George Whittam in the West.
And together we are East-West Audio Body Shop. There, I took care of it just the way I said.
Well done, my friend. Thank you for doing
Thank you
it.
very much. Thank you very much. Yes, always got to thank the sponsors, because without them, what are you going to do?
This would be an awful quiet night.
It really would. It'd be lots of other commercials in here. Anyway, welcome to the show tonight. We got a lot of great stuff to talk about, and we got a great guest, Rudy Gaskins, from a lot of different places. But specifically, we're going to talk about the Voice Arts Awards coming up in a couple of weeks, and should be a very interesting conversation. And but there's also more to Rudy than just that, obviously. So we'll get into that in a little bit. Also tonight, we want to answer your questions. Now, we used to do this all the time, and then people just wouldn't call in. But now we got all these people in the. We didn't have a chat room back then. That was one of the things. So now we got thousands of people in the chat room. If you've got a technical question about personal studios, submit them in the chat room, and our wonderful moderator Anthony Gettig will be sending those our way. We'll do that in segment 2,
right,
the second quarter hour. But George, I heard it was really, really hot in California this week.
Well, for us, it's for us Santa Monica weather wussies, it's about as nasty as it gets. It's probably in the low 80s and humid. But it's been bad enough that it triggered a lightning storm, and we had somebody killed in Venice Beach.
I heard about that.
Yeah, from the lightning strike. So it's weird. That's weird weather for us. But I was in Vegas last week, 118 degrees. I mean, it is nasty time of year. So it just came to mind that maybe some of you guys some of you guys could use some tips on improving your ventilation situation. So some of you probably have booths. If you have a prefabricated booth, you may have some sort of ventilation system that's included with it. And if it's designed correctly and it does what it's supposed to do, it exchanges the air in the booth with the air outside the booth, and it does it several times, maybe once or twice a minute, and it does it inaudibly. Well, we all know, those of you that have these things, that rarely ever happens. Yeah. Yeah. So, I'm gonna mainly talk about those that are in that situation, but I'll kind of say those that don't have ventilation, here's how you can add it to your space. And Dan can chime in with the way he did it in his space, because he came up with an interesting solution for his closet. So the whole idea is that you need to exchange the air, okay? It's not necessarily going to keep it cool in there if the air you're exchanging into the room is not cool. So if the outside of your room or the rest of your home where the air comes from is an ambient temperature of 88 degrees, well, you're getting 88-degree air blown into your booth. So the first key to keeping your booth cool after you've got the air circulation happening is it has to be cool air. So one of the things you can do is air condition the room outside the booth. So you don't want the noisy air conditioning unit inside the booth, clearly. That's going to be a real problem. But if you cool the air outside the booth, likely you can keep it cool enough that you'll be able to circulate that cool air into your booth without it being too audible. Now, if your air conditioning unit is a window unit, which are notoriously noisy, you're going to have to chill the room outside your booth down to a comfortable temperature, or maybe to a point where it's colder than comfortable, down into the low 60s, and then let that cold air circulate into your booth. Now, if you don't have a quiet enough ventilation system, there are ways to make one. The key is you're basically building a muffler. And again, Dan's going to explain the way he did it in his home studio. Very clever, simple way to do it. But you're basically building a huge muffler. And that's a big box that has baffles inside that the air has to travel around. And as the air travels through these baffles, which looks like a maze, it gets slowed down and it gets diffused. So the rushing air and the noise from the fan as it travels through this labyrinth gets diffused and it gets quieted down. That's what's going on inside those ventilation units, those boxes strapped to the outside of your whisper room and so forth. That's what they're doing. You can build these things yourself, and they don't necessarily have to be complex, difficult things to build out of wood. They can be made out of cardboard, say a printer box. So, there are ways to build these on the cheap. If you go online, you will definitely find some information about how to build a ventilation baffle. Now, you can buy them. You can actually buy these pre-made, but they're going to be very costly, at least $300-$400 per baffle. And if you're ventilating a room, say a closet, or it's a room in your house with an existing air conditioning system that's too noisy, you may need to install one of these on the send and the return of the air into that room. So it could be pretty costly. So another trick to slowing down the air and quieting it down is just making the distance that the air has to travel a lot longer. So sometimes you might have a duct that comes right off of the blower in the attic and it goes right to the room. Well, you can go up in the attic when it's not 140 degrees, hopefully, and you can run a much longer piece of ductwork, serpentining around the attic and making a lot of turns. That will slow down the noise of the velocity of the air as it bends around corners, diffusing a little bit, and it will increase the distance from the machine making all the noise to your booth. So that's another way you can ventilate a room. Now, if you really have a small closet space that has no possible way of mounting a ventilation unit inside it, you may have to get really creative. Now, and I'll go to Dan after this because this is part of the getting creative solution. What you can do is, assuming that your booth isn't airtight already, because most people with a closet booth are not going to have an airtight booth, you can create an opening in the wall in which to allow the air to be circulated. And you can actually build a baffle on the opening so that the air has to travel through the opening and through the baffle. And you can just simply use basically convective cooling. What that means is the hot air wants to escape out the ceiling or out through the top. So if you have an opening at the top, that hot air will travel naturally through the opening. But at the same time, you have to have a place for cooler air, which is down by the floor, to sneak in. And that's going to be basically under the door. So you have to have a gap under the door for that air to creep in. If it's not enough, if the convective cooling isn't enough, then you might have to add a blower unit or a fan or something on there. And that's when the baffling is going to come into play. Now, in the most extreme cases, and I'll go to Dan after this, you might have to install an air conditioning unit outside your home. Now, I've done this for one client in particular with a whisper room. He was desperate. He was sweating his brains out. He was working in his boxer short, dripping with sweat. He was afraid he was going to ruin his equipment. He was sweating so much. So what we did was we just installed an old-fashioned window air conditioner, but sat it outside the house on some blocks. We put a little lean-to roof over it so it wouldn't get wet, and we ran like a 10-inch flexible duct through a hole in the door along the wall and ported it into the whisper room. And I'll tell you, he was able to work with that thing running, and it blew cold air at high speed into the booth, and it was still quiet. It was like a miracle. It really, really did work. So if you're really desperate, just take that noisy machine and stick it outside. Stick it out a window, cut a hole in a piece of plywood to fill the gap in the window, shut it, and run the pipe out the window. You'd be amazed at how ugly it is, but how effective it really is. But Dan, like, what did you? I know you did. Was it last summer that you made this rig in your attic?
It was 2 summers.
2 summers ago. So
and it was a particularly hot summer, as I recall.
Yeah, you were lucky enough to have a crawl or an attic space above.
Oh, we have a full attic above here.
Yeah,
you know, we don't keep anything up there like old rocking chairs or newspapers from World War I, but no, it's the attic is right above us. I'm here in the penthouse suite on the 2nd floor.
Yeah.
And so what I did is I simply cut a hole in the ceiling of the closet, threw a duct out there, and as you were talking about building what it's officially in the dictionary it would be called a plenum.
A plenum.
A plenum. But it's a sound baffle, and I took an HP printer box, made the labyrinth.
HP, very important.
It could be a Brother, it could be a Canon box, but the HP box is particularly big.
Very, very beefy, right? Very strong.
Right. And I took a couple of pieces of duct end and made essentially look like a square muffler. Exactly. And I lined the entire thing with Oralex, made Eric Smith very happy. And I was able, and I had the fan I used was what they call a duct booster fan. I don't see them in Lowe's or Home Depot anymore.
Right. You got to look online.
Yeah. This thing draws like 260 cubic feet a minute.
Whoa.
And it's so, and it was kind of loud and I could hear it. And then, so I built this thing, gone. It's now sucking all the air out. The room is not airtight, but I know when I turn it on, because I have a little wireless remote control for it that turns the fan on and off, I feel the cool air coming across my toes.
Right, under the door.
Under the door, which is actually kind of nice.
Exactly.
So I closed the main door to my office, so there's no noise coming out, and then it's quiet anyway. But
this is the reason why studios in garages are generally a really bad idea.
Bad idea. Yeah.
I mean, I hear about people. I'll just put my whisper room in my garage. Where do you live again? Oh, I live in California. I live in Arizona. I live in Vegas. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Not going to happen.
It's keeping cool. It's even more important than just keeping cool, which is important. But CO2 can start to build up in a closet, and suffocating is no way to make a living. It really
no.
isn't.
You got to have air. You got to have circulation. You might think that airproofing, or I'm not airproofing, but soundproofing your closet by making it airtight is actually stopping all the noise from coming in. It's not. And all it's doing is basically slowly depriving your brain of oxygen. So, worst case scenario,
we're crazy enough in this business already. Yeah. So why?
Worst case scenario, open that damn door and just circulate.
Shut the door open 5 or 6 times.
Exactly.
If you're doing 30-second spots or something, it's not a big deal. But if you're like doing an entire chapter of an audiobook, take a break, open the door.
Yeah, we'll take lots of breaks.
So that's the skinny on keeping cool.
Yeah, and if you're really lucky to have a basement,
it's always 65 down there.
Man, if you have a below ground basement, a cellar, it's, beautiful thing. Beautiful thing.
Except in March.
In March. What happens in March?
It gets wet and cold.
Oh, wet and cold. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway. So that's keeping your booth cool. All right,
Yeah.
we want to take your questions in just a minute here. So if you've got
About
some
anything.
technical questions about anything that has to do with personal studios,
Yeah.
and George and I will tackle the questions and probably argue about it or not argue about it. We actually come to the same conclusion after all this stuff anyway. And then Rudy Gaskins will join us at the bottom of the hour. So stay tuned. We'll be right back here with your questions on East West Audio Body Shop. Do not go.
Whence came these two radiant celestial brothers, united for an instant as they crossed the stratosphere of our starry window? One from the east and one from the west.
Very good.
And
What
we're
can
back!
I say?
You just had to use that.
Name that movie for 10 points.
I know the movie, but you already told me.
Don't give it away. Don't give it away.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's great, actually. It's great.
Is it?
Yeah,
See,
I really
I heard it got bad reviews, and the wife and I are always going, "Oh, let's rent a movie tonight." Well, no, it got bad reviews. Let's watch.
It's
this.
polarizing. Some people have had it with his films, and by now they've kind of gotten over it, But I thought it was one of the best ones that he's done recently. So
Who directed this?
oh, there it is. Somebody picked it up. Jerry Reed, Grand Budapest Hotel.
Yes,
That's a Wes Anderson film.
Oh, Wes Anderson. That's right.
And he has a very distinct style. He's got that tracking dolly shot style where he tracks sideways, lots of side on and front on shots. He doesn't do 3/4 angles. It's always straight on or from the side. He has a distinct style. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, well, I guess we'll rent it this week.
Definitely check it out, I think.
All right, let's go back to the old days here. And we've got some questions from the chat room about voiceover personal studios. David Bonall. Now, he says this is a noob question.
That's okay. We have a lot of different people watching this show.
A lot of experienced people, but we like to encourage the newcomers to join us. But what is a good way to measure the noise floor of your personal studio? Is there a good way to do that, or any good references to make that kind of measurement? Well, that's pretty easy. I'll let you start because I have my own way of doing it.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe they're the same. I don't know. I mean, actually, to be honest, there's no industry standard. This is how you measure noise floor. And I think that's probably part of the problem. The way I measure noise floor is I will say somebody sends me a sample. So I first will make sure they record some of their voice, because noise floor isn't enough of a measurement on its own. It has to be in relation to your voice recording. It's all about a signal to noise ratio. So measuring noise by itself isn't as useful.
Right. Your voice is the signal. Everything else is noise.
Exactly. So you have to be able to measure the two together, right? So I'll say, please read me some script. Please, set your levels properly. Let us see your levels peaking between, -6 and -3. Then give me 10, 20 seconds of room tone. Now, once I have that, now I can measure my room tone. And what I'll do is I will normalize. If I really want to do a true torture test, I will normalize that whole clip, the whole file, to 0 dB. So what that's going to do is it's going to take the voice and take it to the highest possible volume. Then I will take the noise or the room tone and I will select that and I'll click Analyze in Twisted Wave. And I will look and see what the peak level is. Now I'm measuring peak level when I'm measuring noise floor. So this is the worst case scenario for noise. It's probably the most stringent way of measuring it. But you'll come up with a setting. And, Dan and I, we've talked about a lot on setting up standards for WOVO. And, we seem to agree that minus 55 dB and, lower is a really good target range to land in. You still feel that way, Dan? Because it's been at least a year since we've talked about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, the original standard we used to try was about minus 50 to minus 55.
Uh-huh.
And the reason that we like minus 50 is because if you still have noise, any noise below minus 50, minus 55, minus 60 is much easier to remove by using gating as opposed to the dreaded noise adaptive reduction system. Don't use those. They're very bad.
They're pretty destructive.
They destroy your audio as opposed to improve it. But George, the way George did it is the right way to do that. I'll usually, if somebody sends me a sample, same thing. I'll look at the baseline room tone and look at the MU meter, and it's like minus 55, minus 53, and I'll give it the benefit to go. The average is minus 54.
Yeah, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to say, oh, there was a little sound there that was minus 51, so that must be,
right.
There's a little bit of averaging going on there.
Right, but there's more to it than that, because not only is it just the actual relative volume of the noise floor, it is the different frequencies at which those volumes are, because there are certain frequencies that are more audible at low levels than others. And they're all over the place for whatever reason.
It's true.
So if you've got like a high-pitched whining or something like that that's very low, we can see it, especially if you're looking at it in the spectrogram or something like that. So it's easy to tell if it's mechanical, if it's electronic.
Mm-hmm.
Hissing is, that's never a physical thing. That's always, a volume control and volume input thing. But if you've got a lot of noise that is 50 or higher, it makes a noise gate less seamless.
Yeah, it starts to become very obvious. I like to say downward expander, the geekier, I don't know, more radio broadcast kind of term, but it's basically a noise gate is similar. It basically it allows you to reduce the volume of the background noise on sort of a gradual slope instead of an on-off switch. And if you do it right, it's pretty seamless. Anthony was saying, isn't minus 50 kind of high? Well, it depends on the kind of noise. Just like Dan said, I got a client today, he sent me a sample, and when I just simply metered the room tone, it was minus 38. Pretty bad, right? But on headphones or speakers, it was not bad. It didn't sound bad. Why? Because the noise that he was getting mostly was rumble. Low frequency noise. When we applied a high pass filter to that and took everything below about 90 hertz out of there, his noise floor went from minus 38 to minus 57. We didn't do any noise reduction, gating, anything, just by doing that one thing. So noise can be perceived very differently depending on the frequency, for sure. So hope that is clear as mud.
I thought we explained that very well.
I thought so too.
Didn't understand that, then
go back to school.
Yeah, go back to voiceover university.
Ed VO, I guess his question kind of ties in, huh?
It does. If through EQ, here's the problem right here. You get a noise floor to say minus 60 or minus 57. Should you try to take it down further with a gate?
Should you? Yeah, should you? Boy, that is definitely are you a producer or not? Question, because if you're not producing the spot, it's not really your problem. However, there
seems to be a lot of hesitation in the however there.
But if you are going to do some processing to your auditions because you really want them to be a little bit more pop,
punchy,
punchy, whatever, then I do find that some downward expansion gating can be useful, because as you compress, generally the noise floor starts to come up when you use compression. So if you use a compressor and a limiter, where your noise floor was before might have been minus 57. After you compress and limit and bring the average audio up 5 or even 10 dB, guess what else comes up? noise. The noise comes up 10 dB. So when you're all done, your noise floor might end up being minus 50, minus 45. So that's where the downward expander can come in and help reduce that again. So I almost always will use one without the other. And I almost always use one with the other. Let me put it that way. I almost never use a compressor without a downward expander for that reason.
Right.
So
I think we need to show my tip of the week on how to set a noise gate again one of these days.
Yeah.
So people see what it's really all about.
Absolutely.
I mean, just talking about it, it's like, well, it's this, it's that.
I know.
There's a lot of different settings to it, and you've got to understand it.
Yeah.
Hey, the amazing producer Steven Sisk is joining
Steve.
us also. And he has a question for us. He goes, "Hi guys." Hi, Steve. Could you tell us here in the Peanut Gallery how you export stacks in Twisted Wave? Some of us get a great effect and like to share them around.
I'm not telling. No, no, it's actually something that is one of the killer tools in Twisted Wave for me professionally is the ability to do this. I love creating stacks for other people. So Steve, if you want to do this too, it is not hard at all. It's really brilliant. It's just not as intuitive as maybe it could be. So in Twisted Wave, when you're in that stacks window, there's a little menu that says stacks. And when you click on it, it pops down. I guess it'd be easier to show it than it is to explain it. Maybe I can do that. And once you're in the manage stacks, or once you're in that little menu, you will see an option that says manage stacks. When you click that, it just opens a window in your Finder. That's all it is. It just takes you to a hidden folder that's like down like 8 levels under a hidden folder, somewhere that's hard to find. And whoa, that got really big. And
we have to get Thomas to make that a little easier to find, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a little, considering how simple this software is, that's probably one of the geekiest things to understand. But it's in this effect stack window. I'm just going to drag it into your shots, Dan, so everybody can see it. And there we go. And switch that. And there we go. It's over your shoulder. In the effect stack window, there's the stacks menu. Click on that. Then you'll see manage stacks. When you click that, it opens a Finder window that looks like that. And inside there'll be a stacks folder. That is where all the stacks live. So now you have to go in. I put them into a few submenus because I have much too many of them. But once you've grabbed a stack file that you want to share, send it to the other person, and then you simply need to just explain to them the process that I just showed you on how to do it on their end. Or go on YouTube and search for Twisted Wave Stacks, and you'll find a video I made on how to share stacks or how to put a stack into your DAW, because it's a very, very common question of my clients. So I hope that helps.
Yeah. And then Kevin Schuller, following up our last question of the hour here. Mm-hmm. What do you do with the Twisted Wave stacks? I applied those incredible Twisted Wave stacks I bought from you, but I'm blank as about the magic you did with them. I'm afraid to touch them for fear of screwing up what you've done. So here's a really simple answer. Don't touch it.
Screwing with the settings would be sort of like getting a prescription from the doctor and going, why don't I just 3 of these and 2 of these tonight? Let's see what No one's gonna die. No, honestly, to be completely honest, screw with it all you want, but you're always going to have the original there to fall back on. You're always going to have the original stack that you can recall later. But the only way you're going to learn how to do this stuff, unless you take engineering school, go through engineering training, say subscribe on lynda.com and watch all their videos on there about audio production, which there's lots of videos on there. The only way you're going to learn is by going through the education process and experimenting and hearing what these things do. So don't be afraid to go in there, open each one of those little edit buttons, let that little window pop up. And the beauty of Twisted Wave is you can play back and hear what the effect does while you screw around with the settings. That's how you're going to learn. I mean, this is not stuff that you learn in a day or a weekend. I mean, this is years. This is our art. I mean, this is years of experience. And that's why we do this for other folks, because we know that you're just not going to be able to learn this through osmosis. You're not going to learn it just from reading it in a book. You can understand the concepts. It's a whole different story to put them into play. So don't be afraid to play with them because you can always get them back.
They're non-destructive.
Or just
don't hit save.
Yeah, don't save over. If you try to save over it, it'll ask you, are you sure you want to replace it? Right. Just type in a new name and save your version. It's a great way to learn. It's the way I learned some HTML coding. I'm not a web designer, but when I wanted to make something cool happen on my website, I'd find somebody else who's already done it, grab their HTML code, stick it in my website. So it's a great way to learn by example and mess things up, see what it does.
All right. Well, that was painless for some people, I guess. If you've got a question for us that you'd like us to answer here on East West Audio Body Shop, since that's what we do, email us at ewabshop@gmail.com and put the heading as question, and we will put it on the air here, and maybe we'll actually bring you into the actual live thing here, and then you'll never want to do it again.
We have this new cool tool for bringing our guests in, and it works great for bringing you in as well into the conversation. So if you ever want to come on, that's one way to do it. We also have our voicemail box. We've got so many different ways to take your questions. So we still like to answer your questions. And don't worry if you feel like they're too basic. If you feel they're newbies, it doesn't matter. We're here to serve you guys and answer your questions.
I love newbies.
Yeah. Don't worry.
Anyway, speaking of guests, we have one coming up in just a minute. Hopefully he'll be here with us. Rudy Gaskins will be joining us. We'll talk about the Voice Arts Awards and all sorts of other cool stuff. So stay right. No, he's running in there. We'll be right back after this message. So stay where you are.
VO Studio Tech. Recording made simple.
Hi, I'm Peter McHugh.
This is Jim Tasker from Los Angeles, California.
Hi, this is Bill Ratner in Los Angeles.
Hi, this is Scott Rummel here in Yorba Linda, California.
Hi, my name is Rick Wasserman.
Hi, this is Tom Kane.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Marshall.
Hi, my name is Zurich.
Hi, I'm Mary McKittrick.
Randy Thomas chiming in.
Hi, this is Joe Szymanski.
Hey, this is Rick Robles.
Hi, my name is John Patrick Armstrong.
I was turned on to George by none other than Don LaFontaine, who always swore by his health.
George is absolutely awesome.
ISDN, Source Connect, Phone Patch, FTP, you name it, George has set it up.
It's really the best thing I've ever done for myself. I feel free, safe, fearless, like anything is possible in here.
Unless you like to look for opportunities to waste time, call George.
And he did all of that, long distance over the phone and the internet.
I'm very happy with George, and I cherish him.
Thanks, George. You make it easy.
Hi, this is David H. Lawrence the 17th, and you're listening to East West Audio Body Shop.
And we're back here in East West Audio Body Shop, and well, that was a lot of fun. But let's have some more fun and talk to our guest, joining us from New York City, I believe, right?
New York City it is.
All right, Rudy Gaskins joins us here in East West Audio Body Shop. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, guys. I wish I had some confetti to fall.
Well, that's okay. Just wait for the next ticker tape parade.
That's right. They happen right outside here. This is Broadway to my right.
Cool.
We're right in the thick of it in Midtown Manhattan here, in the Ed Sullivan Building.
Oh, no kidding! I didn't know that.
Oh, wow!
Damn, I got to come see you guys, man. It's ridiculous. I'm there every 3 to 4 months. I got to come see you guys over there.
Absolutely. Right down the hall is Entertainment Tonight and Inside Edition, and upstairs and downstairs are Letterman's offices, and the theater is downstairs. So there's literally a ring of people around this place every day, including the paparazzi and chasing movie stars and whatnot.
I'll ask you real quick before you get on, because we want to know more about you, how you came along to do this. But how do you pick a location, like in a city like this? Is it really location when you're doing a business like yourself and you're doing marketing, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Is that important, or do you just do you like the energy of just being? Is it the energy of being in that building and around those people? What is it?
Location, as they say. I mean, in this case, though, it was really a bit of luck on our part, and where we are is ideal for what we do, and it's exciting and keeps us feeling enthusiastic about the stuff we do. But initially, when we started our business, we got a free office that was literally in a basement for a production company that had some free space and said, look, if you do your post-production here, we'll give you a couple of rooms and a couple of phones. So
there you go.
It really came down to it. It was about having a space to work from. But over time, we had opportunities to, sort of bunk with other folks. And eventually we were doing that here in this building in a big suite on another floor. And that guy kind of went out of business. Mm-hmm. And we had to find another space in a hurry. And fortunately, they had this one space left in this building. And we were able to just move from one floor to the next.
Oh, man.
And start here.
Kismet.
Cool. Yeah, so we were lucky.
Yeah. So why don't we just start off, and because we know about that's voiceover and some of the other stuff you're doing, but why don't we just start off by asking, who is Rudy Gaskins? Tell us about you.
Boy, well, I'd say
in 5 words or less.
In 5 words, I'm a rapper. I mean, I studied at New York University. I studied film and television there. My hope was at that time to just direct films. But of course, when you get out there in the world and you start seeing all the different opportunities that present themselves and the uphill slog of becoming a film director, doable by all means, but I found myself in the world of sound engineering actually originally. So I was over at Sound One in the Brill Building, the famous Brill Building where all the songs were done, and where at that time in the early 80s, mid-80s, all the top films that were being post-produced here in New York were happening in the Brill Building. I was the messenger in that building for Sound One. So I would run up and down just taking, stock to different editors, taking them their transfers, and then they trained me to start to transfer these things myself. So I was working recording and transferring the work for the editors, always hoping, though, that one of those editors would say, Rudy, why don't you come work for us? And it finally happened. My first job was on Francis Coppola's The Cotton Club as a stereo recordist. And I was out recording stereo sound effects for that film. And of course, since it was set in the 30s, I had to record those effects in such a way that you didn't hear any sort of modern sounds in the back. That meant I was out at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning recording sound effects, when you wouldn't hear a car horn or a bus go by and things like that. And so my background was really cut in filmmaking and then sound editing for a number of feature films before I found myself working in documentaries as a director, producer for WNET here in New York and PBS. So many years I spent doing documentary filmmaking. And when that sort of dried up on me, I found myself in advertising with ABC News, making promos for Peter Jennings and Diane Sawyer and Barbara Walters. And I sort of remained in marketing after that. Went on to work for Court TV, if you remember that network, as vice president of creative services, and then Food Network, and then NBC Sports. All of that before I launched Push Creative and felt like, I could do all this stuff on my own and work for multiple brands rather than being sort of, saturated with one brand as I was from network to network.
That makes a lot of sense. I think it's a smart business model to follow. Yeah, where you're always something, you're divesting yourself of lots of different things. So
you've got to diversify.
Right.
Diversify. And then, of course, while I was working as a producer in the advertising and promotion world, I met a young lady named Joan Baker. She stole my heart, and I married her. And then, of course, I fell in love with voice acting. I mean, I had always been hiring voice actors and directing voice actors, but it's a whole different thing when you live with a voice actor and you really begin to see what their plight is really all about, especially as a female voice actor.
Yes.
So I began, looking for ways to support my wife in her journey, just as she was always very supportive of me and mine, and kind of fell in love with the whole voiceover side of things and began pursuing that more and more. Joined her in co-writing her book. I was more behind the scenes on that, but, it was definitely a combined effort. And then creating That's Voiceover, which really was spawned out of doing question and answer things for the book. That's Broadway.
I was going to say, it sounds like New York.
That's right. So that doing the Q&As for the book led to That's Voiceover, so that we could do it on just a grander scale and get more people involved, and which, of course, in an organic way led to the Voice Arts Awards, which we can talk about at length.
Yeah, we will. Of course, now I notice over your left shoulder, there's this gal with these big spikes sticking out of her back and holding up a globe.
Yeah, that must be an Emmy replica.
Award. My other wife, yes. Yes, she's a dandy.
So where do you get those Emmy replicas, huh? Are they easy to come by?
Right. Yeah, they're not easy to come by.
Times Square, they got them right in the window there.
That's actually the New York-based Emmy, the daytime Emmys, the sports Emmys. They're here in this building also on the 4th floor. In fact, they took over the suite that I got kicked out of. And so I talk with those guys a lot, and they are very strict about this Emmy Award. I mean, if they see one on Craigslist or on eBay, they get it. They go and get it. Yeah, it's a very strict process. And if you lose one or get one so horribly damaged that they have to replace it, on the back of it says commemorative.
Oh.
Yeah. There's only one original one.
Right. So it is a replica to be accurate, but it's not a replica you can come by. So how did you come by?
How did you win that?
Yeah, how did you get yours?
The mold. Yeah, I won mine on the NBC with NBC Sports for the Olympic Games, 2000 Olympic Games, writing and producing not only promos for the throughout the games, but a series of vignettes for specific athletes who were sort of understood to be the leading characters in terms of who would win in any given sport. So we sort of zero in on the people who are most likely to win, that by their track record and whether they won the World Cups and things like that, and you pull out their stories. And that was an extraordinary opportunity for me to be able to work directly with those athletes and kind of see how they think and the tenacity that they bring to everything that they do. I mean, you can't throw a stick of gum in the trash can without them wanting to compete and do it better than you. It's just, they're just wired that way. But it's also, it's just inspiring to be around those kinds of people. And I had just come from court TV where it was all about blood and guts and mayhem. And then to walk into something like that where it was all about inspiration and achievement, it was wonderful. And then to win an Emmy Award for doing that work was icing on the cake.
Outstanding. Well, I hope we all get the chance to win one of these.
Yes.
One of these days. And speaking of winning, we really want to talk about the Voice Arts Awards. How did you come up with this idea? And tell us a little bit more about what you're doing with this.
Yeah, well, the Voice Arts Awards came out of the That's Voiceover Career Expo that we do every year. And the thing that we do, here's how it makes sense. The thing that we do with That's Voiceover is we seek to bring together talent, that is voice actors, with facilitators, that would be the casting directors and the agents, and buyers. And those are the people at the networks and at the corporations, anybody who needs a voice on the gaming side, on the toys and manufacturing side, on the television side, and the corporate side. But getting those three people together in such a way where they can talk easily in an environment where where magic can happen. So as a film director, that was always my thing, is to create an environment where the magic can take place, where the actors can do their best work. And with That's Voiceover, the idea was to create an environment where these three groups could really get together and start to create work with each other. Because as you know, there's a lot of selling that goes on from the voice actors to the agents and to the buyers.
Sure.
And the agents are hard selling the buyers. And as any of us knows, as soon as we pick up the phone and we find that it's a salesperson on the phone, we don't like it too much.
Right.
Even if we need what they're selling us, we assume I'm going to get ripped off somehow in this process. So the idea is to create an environment where those people can feel free and at ease to communicate their needs, because the buyers do need great voices, and they do need casting directors and agents to help them do that process, to facilitate that process. But they can't be inundated. And the agents cannot be inundated by voice actors, even though any good agent is out there looking for great talent all the time. So the idea was to create an environment where all that can happen. So the award emerges not only as a way to acknowledge people who are pouring their heart and souls into a career, into a lifetime of activity, and it feels great to win, but also to create something that helps to solidify that triangle so that everyone can see that we're working together on a certain level and we're winning an award that comes out of the same category of activity. Whether your perspective is voice acting, that could be the prism that you look through. But if you're a creative director, you look at it through that prism. But we're all touching base and creating work that serves a common purpose.
Yeah. No, you've got, of course, there are a lot of different categories of voiceover now. I mean, whereas, network TV and commercials are probably maybe maybe less than 10% of the entire marketplace of what voiceover is, especially with our audience, with e-learning and corporate work and things along those lines. So how many different categories are you going to have for different awards here? And what is
it could get pretty extensive, man.
So far, there are too many categories already. It's like an albatross around my neck, all these categories. But they're kind of, when you start to look at the entries and where people are most interested in submitting work, we're beginning to see that the categories are going to take care of themselves. Some of them are going to fall off, and then they'll come back as the award grows and people start to understand that it exists and how to submit and where the value is in being a winner, or on the marketing side, the process of entering and using that as a platform for getting your name out there and connecting with the collaborators on those projects. So I think it will shrink initially so that we can get more focused, and then it will broaden out again. And we'll find out what the magic number is. I mean, the Emmy Awards are still adding categories. Right. And as technology and the industry changes, categories will change.
Yeah. So we're hoping for the best live webcast about voiceover category.
That's right.
There'll be a lot of heavy competition for that.
It's a small one.
Right in there.
It's a small category.
Right in there.
I know. We were crazy enough to want to do this live thing where anything could happen. As we always say, it's Apollo 13.
Well, you guys have got courage. I'll give you that. You've got courage. But you also, you do a great job at what you do. And that's, I don't know anyone who doesn't know of you guys. So maybe the whole world of voiceover is yet to tune in, but people are aware of you, that's for sure. So you're doing something right.
Outstanding. Well, thank you. We appreciate that. So how do people submit their work for this? It's not like people are going to call up and say, I nominate Joe Schmo because he did this great commercial over here. It's a different type of process, and one I think people should understand.
Yes. So the basic process is similar to the Clios or the Emmys or the Oscars or the Golden Globes. You submit the work that you believe is worthy. So as the creator of the work, as a producer, or in our case, as a voice actor or a casting director, you have to know what you feel is worthy, what you feel stands up to the competition that's out there. And then you submit that. You do this all online. You upload your files. It could be multiple files in the case of a campaign, or multiple files across various categories. But you log on, you register. It's a very simple registration process. It takes about 5 minutes to go through the whole process and have your work up and ready, sitting there on the shelf for the judges to review. But you mentioned the nomination process. This is, again, like the Emmys or the Oscars or the Golden Globes. The work is submitted. The judges will review it, and they will, through their tabulations, figure out who the nominees are. And then the tabulation is actually handled by a private accounting firm. So the judges just score. And then it's out of their hands. And then the accounting firm looks at those scores, and they come back and they tell us, here's your nominees.
And
they come back on the day of the show and say, and they
the
say,
envelope, please.
That's right. It's an interesting process. One of our board members for the Society of Voice Arts and Sciences, which is the nonprofit organization that oversees the Voice Arts Awards, is Steve Ulrich. Steve Ulrich is also the executive director for the Sports Emmys here in New York. So he brings that experience to the table here. Fortunately, he's a permalance consultant for them, which leaves him free to be a consultant for us. And that's a wonderful thing because he brings the years of experience from the Emmy Awards themselves. And that really helps to elevate our game in terms of how we create the business model for the awards and how we really put them out there in the world and how that process is going to be governed over time. Some of it will also be dependent on the nature of the community that we're dealing with. And we'll see how that plays itself out. But as far as the nomination process goes, I do get emails from time to time where people just say, hey, I want to nominate Joe Blow. And here's his resume, and here's his pitch book, and here's his reel. And it doesn't work that way. Like I said, the nomination process is something that happens between the jurors. It's not a situation where anyone can just call us and nominate, and then we're going to sort of start reviewing that work. And if you imagine the hundreds of people who could send an email nominating someone, and that somehow we're going to have the staff that's just going to cull through hundreds of resumes and reels and all sorts of other presentation material that might be sent along.
You got other things to do.
Yeah. So we're going to let the jurors do that by virtue of the people who feel confident enough about the work that they're doing to put it out there for consideration. And that in and of itself elevates how you feel about yourself in the work that you do. When you say, I'm going to put it out there, everything changes. It's very different from sitting back and saying, well, I don't know if I'm good enough, or maybe next year I'll see how it goes, and then maybe I'll jump in if this thing works. That's a very different mindset than the person who says, I'm going to get on the playing field. I'm going to find out how to play football by getting out there and tackling someone, not by watching how it's done from the sidelines. So I encourage people to jump in and put their best foot forward, let the chips fall where they may.
So what's the criteria going to be for judging in a certain category? What are the judges going to be looking for?
Well, there's so basic set for these kinds of awards programs, but it depends on the category to some extent. And when you go online, you can see the criteria online for each category. So you can look at it and you can know how your work stacks up. But generally speaking, you look at the creativity, whether there's anything innovative about what's been done, originality. And in many cases, you're looking at the execution on the brand message. How well is this particular voiceover, or in the case of the creative director, the overall presentation of the work? How well is it satisfying the brand objective? So that's sort of the basic criteria that we look at, that we will be looking at. And the other thing to consider is that everyone who's judging are professionals in the business. So the judges are comprised of agents, publishers, casting directors, and producers and creative directors. There's also voice acting talent in there as well. So these people know what they're looking at, and a lot of it is going to happen from their gut. They're not just going to go down a list and check off in a sort of technical manner. They also know what's effective because they've been doing it for 20 years and 30 years. And they're going to bring that to the table as well. And that's the case with any award, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. And having served on some juries to do some of this kind of stuff, it's sort of like, oh, well, that one is just clearly super. It usually just jumps out at you as to why is this superior to everything else?
Right.
And usually it's not as hard as it looks, unless, of course, you have a lot of.
That's right. I agree wholeheartedly.
Good stuff. But usually the best shine. Okay. Submit it. The web address is voicearts.org, and the show's going to be on November 9th.
That's right. And the awards gala is November 9th, and it's the evening before that's voiceover, the Career Expo. So they're sisters. That's voiceover and the Voice Arts Awards.
Right. And the final deadline is August 24th. You've extended a little bit, I take it.
Yeah, we did extend it a bit. So, yeah, you have until August 24th to submit your entries. And I wish everyone the best of luck. And, I want to mention something about the cost. There is a cost to submit, and there's a cost to submit any major industry award. Though some folks are surprised by that cost, and some folks are surprised that the cost is what it is. Unfortunately, when you set up a business model, you have to price things so that the model will work, so the business will not fail. So these costs aren't just pulled out of thin air. There's an algorithm, so to speak, to come around to what it takes to run to run an award show, and to take care of the people who are doing the work to make it happen, and to create something that's a little step above an ashtray as the actual award itself. So we've gone to R.S. Owens. That's the same manufacturers and designers of the Emmy Award and the Oscar, and we sat down with them and we designed the award with great thoughtfulness and great care. And everyone who's seen, thank you. Everyone who has seen it has said that hits the spot. When it comes to voiceover and the voiceover industry, this award nails it.
I even like the way the microphone's positioned. I like the way the mic is suspended up above the copy stand, right where it really
the way it's supposed to
should be.
Yes. Yeah, it should be there, right? Absolutely. And the copy stand is the magic. That's where the magic happens.
Yeah.
Everything that hits that copy stand is where the actor is going to come from and bring to life and make it his own. And I love that piece. So yes, we sat down and we came up with a piece that you'll be proud to see on your mantle, and you'll be proud to hold up. And it weighs like 3.5 pounds. And that's important that the award be something that is meaningful and is thoughtful toward the work as we are in doing the work.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds like it's going to be a great event, and I can't wait to see how this all turns out. We've got lots of questions from our audience because they want to know, and they're going to ask you all that stuff in just a couple of minutes. But first, we got to talk about a buddy of ours who's been sponsoring this show for 152 consecutive episodes.
Yeah.
If you can believe that. Harlan Hogan and Voiceover Essentials. You got to go over to this website. It's as easy as we talk about them every week, but we got to keep telling you because you got to go over there and you got to check it out for yourself. VoiceOverEssentials.com. He has everything you could possibly need to do voiceover, except your voice.
Except your talent. Please don't forget that, Vern.
Yes. He does not sell voices in there. He only sells the stuff that allows you to record your voice in the best way possible with great products of his own signature series, like the VO1A voiceover microphone, the voiceover optimized headphones, and of course the Portabooth Plus and the Portabooth Pro and every other type of Portabooth he's ever come up with. What's the special this week? What do they got on the website?
Actually, I'm looking at something we don't usually look at on a website, but this is the return policy, okay? I'm showing on the screen right now. It is unusual. I've had clients buy stuff at Best Buy where it says 15-day return policy on this piece of equipment you've just purchased. And he doesn't do that. He does a full refund 30 days after, and 60 days up to you get a 20% restocking fee. So if you really kept it for 32 days and you blew that 30-day window, he'll let you return it. He's just going to charge you a little restocking fee because he may not be able to sell that piece as new. And so, he recoups a little bit of that loss. But you really do get 60 days to test something for a small investment afterward. It's kind of like thinking of it like a long-term rental. If you really want to try a VO1A, buy one, use it for a long time. It's hard to tell if you're going to like a mic until you really used it in your home studio. So I think that really sets him apart from a lot of the other retailers out there. And he really does stand behind his products to almost to a fault. Harlan, you got to just let it go sometimes. But no, his products are really well thought out, and they're all priced to be very affordable. He doesn't sell anything that's outrageously priced because he wants things to be things that you guys can use in the real world, that voice actors who maybe haven't had their 20 years into this business can justify and afford. So there's something on there for just about anybody at any price point.
George, you've matured. You were able to actually carry that live spot.
Have you been listening, Dan? I've been doing this a while.
I listen to you all the time.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm so proud of you.
It was pretty good myself.
Thanks, guys. I'm on the spot here. No, but anyway, Thank you, Harlan.
Thank you, Harlan Hogan and Voiceover Essentials, for being with us since the very beginning and the dawn of time.
I know. What a man.
I think we may have just come up with another category. I think we may have come up with another category called live promo announce.
All right. Nominate me, please.
Okay. We'll submit that one. Okay, well, let's get to some questions from our audience, of which there are quite a few here.
They're starting to line up,
They're starting to line up here. Shelly Avellino asks, question for Rudy. Well, I would hope it would be for Rudy. Do you have to be a member to participate in the awards? I'm not sure a member of what, but
tell us a little bit more about the member, the SOVAS as well, and how that ties in.
Ooh, SOVAS. See, I like to call it SOVAS.
SOVAS.
Say SOVAS, I say SOVAS.
I just came back from Las Vegas, Nevada. So what can I tell you?
SOVAS. It was in Las Vegas.
Nevada.
No, they say Nevada there. Anyway, go ahead.
So answer a question. No, you do not have to be a member. No, you do not have to be a member to submit. But there is membership available through the Society of Voice Arts and Sciences, SOVAS. And if you buy the membership, what happens is you get a discount on your entries, and you get a discount on the awards gala, you get a discount on That's Voiceover, and there are some other, depending on the level of your membership, there are other discounts and that you can get on equipment, demo reels, coaching, etc. And we're building, through our sponsors, we're building up the membership benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Because when a sponsor has a chance to put their name on the membership benefits, that's advertising for them, that's promotion for them. So it's a value to them to offer a discount. And it's no additional cost to us. So as the benefits build up, they're just retroactive. So if you bought a membership today and 3 new things get added over the next 6 weeks, well, you just have the benefit of those 3 new things.
Nice.
All right.
Very cool.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people have asked this one, and this takes some explanation because people really need to understand how these types of things work. Why do people have to pay to enter?
I think we answered that, but I think maybe you can elaborate on a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's on one hand, it's a question that could almost infuriate you.
From your point of view, I can understand that.
I can't think of any other place where you go and you get a service and you ask, why do I pay for it?
Yeah, really.
But for some reason here,
let's explain that. No, I mean, let's explain. Okay, you spend the money to nominate. What? Even if obviously if you don't win, what are the benefits to someone that pays that fee? Really, what are the? Would you consider this a marketing investment?
Absolutely, it's. But let's get that word "nominate" out of the picture because when you enter an award. When you enter an award, you're not nominating yourself. I mean,
you're entering a field.
If you look at every definition of the word, you could say you're nominating yourself, but you're not nominated in the sense that you become a nominee.
Okay.
As is the case with, say, the Emmys or the Golden Globes, they announce their nominees.
Yes.
Those folks are announced out of a pool of people who were in the competition.
Okay. So what is the advantage of now being in that pool?
Well, there are advantages before you even get into that pool, but clearly once you become a nominee, let's take one step back. Let's look at 3 steps here. First, you jump in with both feet and you get yourself into this pool, right? You're now entered into the awards. Well, when you enter into the awards, you also list the credits of the people who you collaborated with, right? So now all of a sudden there's this little party going on there. Now you have an opportunity to contact those people and let them know that, 1, you thought enough of the work that you guys did together to enter it. I would like getting a call like that. And 2, you're now as eligible as I am for the opportunity to win. Let's cross our fingers and hope we become nominees. And that's a much better call to receive from a producer standpoint than, is there any work for me today?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The difference between those 2 calls, that's where the marketing starts to come into play. You're now calling somebody with a good news story that's you're showing pride for the work you've done together, and you've included them, you've acknowledged them for their role in that work, whether it's the creative director or the audio engineer, whatever their role was. You get to put that in there. And you've created a very positive conversation because, once that happens, it's like waiting for dessert to come. So you've got a nice, bubbly, good feeling going on, and you've made yourself top of mind with that producer, with that buyer, without that same old conversation about, is there any work for me today? You want new, innovative ways to interact with these people.
That makes a tremendous amount of sense. I hadn't thought about it that way before.
Yeah, I'm glad you appreciate that. And now if you become a nominee, well, here's another reason to call and let them know that something new has taken place.
We got nominated.
Yeah.
So this is just on the level of keeping that conversation. If you've entered several things and you've got several pools of collaborators that you're talking to, you're generating a lot of heat, a lot of positive buzz, and more than anything, you're top of mind with these producers without ever having asked them for a job. They're thinking about you. They're wanting you to win because they're going to win. So that's a really good thing. Of course, as a nominee, you also show up at the event. I would show up even if I'm not a nominee because it's an opportunity to get face time and to celebrate the people who win.
And wear a tux.
You don't want sour grapes around that. This is your chance to let people who you want to work with know that you respect and honor their work and the fact that they won an award. Right. Be the first one there to shake their hands.
Right. And a good excuse to put on a tux, because the only time I ever get to wear mine is to get a picture taken with the ship's captain. Anyway.
So now, of course, if you win, then that's a whole other story. Now, throughout this process, from entering, through nomination, through winning, there's buzz. There are ways for you to find, just think creatively. There are ways to talk about being in that process and sharing that in that conversation with other people. So yes, it is a marketing expense, even though it doesn't hurt the ego to win or to be nominated. And it feels good to win. We work hard. We work very hard at what we do. And when we're acknowledged for it, it makes a difference. It makes us want to excel even more.
Absolutely.
So there's lots of good stuff in it all the way around. And I presume that's how awards sort of emerged in the first place.
Well, you certainly hear about the lobbying that goes on in Hollywood for Oscars and stuff like that. It's quite a process that goes on.
Sure.
So it's good to see somebody from, really from the industry taking that concept and bringing it out to, to the people here in the voiceover world, which of course has expanded so greatly.
Well, you were saying before we went to air, so to speak, it's a line item in other production companies' budgets.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, see, I was a bit surprised when I first introduced the awards. I say I like I did it by myself. There's actually a team of people behind this whole effort. I was a little surprised at how unaware a lot of people were about the awards process because they just hadn't been entering awards. So they just didn't know. They didn't have any reason to know. But I come from the television side where, yes, we have award entries as a line item in our budgets. Every television network, every corporation, every branding agency has that in their budget at the top of the year. How much are we going to spend on awards? Because they understand that it builds morale. It puts your brand out there in a new way because people see you as a winner. People see you as being able to offer something special, to bring something special to the table. And so it makes a difference. And the morale, you can't beat what it does for a group of producers at a network who've been busting their chops all year long on work, and then to be celebrated for that work. It makes a big difference.
Yeah. Shelley Avellino has another question here. Do all the nominees, I think it's everybody who submits, does everybody get heard?
Well, which one are they asking? Of course, all the nominees are going to get heard.
How do they become the nominees in the first place?
No, well, the way we discover who the nominees are by listening to everything. Nothing comes in. I mean, imagine that you pay money to enter in the award, and then we just ignore it.
Right.
Now, if you were one of the jurors, would you stand for that?
I don't think so.
No. And when you think about people like some of the jurors, like Paul Rubin and Scott Breck, and I'm not going to name all of the jurors at this point because some of them won't actually be anonymous. But these are good people. They're good people. They're professionals. They're not going to want to be a part of something when they see that it's being run in a half-assed manner. They're not going to be a part of something where they say, well, wait a minute. I just got 10 entries and I only have to look at 3. Who made that rule? They would quit hands down.
Yeah,
and
who's pre-filtering this stuff before I get to see it?
Yeah. So I could see a suspicion like that if there were 1 or 2 people running the whole show. Right. But there will be a number of judges involved, and they have to know that they're into something that has credibility and meaning.
Yep. Nancy Halpin asks, well, you said we asked who are the judges. You gave us a couple of names, and you say that some of them want to remain somewhat anonymous.
I can see why some people want to be anonymous. I mean,
really.
You don't want to be.
Don't inundate me with phone calls.
Don't bug me. Yeah, you don't want to be bugged. You don't want to be influenced. You want to feel like you're neutral. I can see why you'd want to be anonymous.
Yeah. There's definitely a handful who don't mind, and we're going to be putting their faces and names and titles up on the website soon. And I hope to encourage those who want to be anonymous to show their faces, though some of them I totally understand why they don't want.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. How were they selected?
Would be inundated.
How were they selected?
Well, one by categories. So we look at the categories that we offer for the award, and then we pick professionals who have long-standing experience in those categories. And you look at a number of things. I mean, I've been in the business a long time, and so has Steve Ulrich and others who are part of the board and the officers of the Society of Voice Arts and Sciences. And so we know people who are well-known and respected, and we choose them based on what we know about them. And we choose them also because we know anyone who hears their name is going to say, oh, well, yeah, that guy, of course. So it's important that the credibility of your jurors can stand up to muster.
Absolutely. Tremaine Kendrick Mosley asks, he wants to know, how did they come up with this year's Lifetime Award recipient, James Earl Jones?
Let's see. I had a dream one night, and several of us really just kind of sat around and started looking at the top sort of older folks who had been doing great stuff and who had long careers, and going through that process, his name was one of them that emerged, and we just couldn't walk away from it. We just kind of kept coming back to it. There's just 6 people in a room going through this process, and then we said, okay, let's pick our top 3 and decide who we're going to go after first. Now, in this process, when you're dealing with celebrities, you have to go after them one at a time. You have to let one say no before you ask the next person. God forbid, 2 people say yes. And you're going to go tell one of them, oh, you're out?
Yeah, wow.
Or you're going to say, okay, we're going to give it to 2 people, and no one feels good about that. So that was kind of how that process emerged. Good people sitting around the table, eating pizza, and thinking about, who should we give the award to this year?
Pie in the sky, you know? Who's your pie in the sky? Who would you just love to, see be a part of this?
Yeah, and it gets a little feisty in there.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure that series of spots he did with Malcolm McDowell from Sprint, where they were just
Dan, you're fading out. Dan, you're fading out a little bit. Like
fading out?
Like a analog distortion or staticky loose connection style thing.
That ought to fix that.
Can you hear me now?
I think it's better. Wiggle some connectors on your mixer or something. It's not the mic. It's somewhere else in the signal chain. Well, then that gives me an opportunity. Yeah.
Most of the things that you do, once they hit Facebook or Twitter, you hear about it.
Yeah.
And the naysayers are the loudest of them all. With James Earl Jones, it was all golden. Every response I've received is, okay, that was the right choice. That was a good choice. Oh, I love that guy. No one had an alternative in terms of feedback. Once they saw that he was the pick, it was just easy. He's sort of like the father to all of us on some level.
I am your father.
Yes, exactly.
Is this any better? Is this working any better?
Yeah, a little bit better.
All right.
Carrie Crandall says, Rudy, what were your greatest challenges during your career? I think that's an awesome question, but I don't want to keep you here all night, Rudy, because you've given us a lot of time already. So I think we're going to save that for another time, Carrie. Thanks for asking it. But announcer asks, announcer.
Oh, wait. For Carrie, let me say one thing.
Yes,
Carrie.
please. No, go ahead.
Carrie, I've done a lot of things in my career. I'm going to tell you honestly, launching this award show is the hardest thing I've ever done.
Okay.
I can understand that completely. Doug, announcer, question. I might have missed this earlier, but are the jurors' names listed on the website? But you answered that. You said that some of them will be on the website soon.
Some of the jurors, yes.
Yeah.
I think that'll probably be, if you want to keep your eyes open, keep your eyes peeled for that, Tuesday of next week.
Oh, okay.
And those who are willing to be known to the public, their names will be listed. And so when you go there, you'll see a button that says jurors. That button is there now, in fact. Click it, you'll see who they are.
That's easy enough. I'm going to mute Dan's mic for a second. He's wiggling connectors. You know, when you do a live show, things crap out in the middle of a show, and it's happened to both of us.
I should probably wiggle some connectors in here, too.
No, it's definitely on Dan's end, because I hear it, too. Devox, this is our last question. Devox, where will stats be posted, re the number of entries, etc.? Will all submissions or just nominees be posted? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. We won't be listing every person who entered the awards.
Right.
Not everybody wants to be listed. Some people don't want anyone to know about it until they win.
Mm-hmm.
They don't necessarily want you to know that they're trying to win. It gets very personal. So, of course, we'll list the nominees.
Sure. Another one slipped in from J.S. Gilbert. What positive effects do you think this award program will have in general for voiceover as a whole? Holistically, what do you think this will do for the industry as a whole?
Yeah, I love that question. We sort of touched on that earlier on.
Yeah.
That the award, because of the nature of our business and the nature of the categories, the award becomes a sort of a lightning rod for how we collaborate. It becomes a way, as we talked about earlier, when you are a casting director and you submit for an award, you list the voice actors, you list the creative directors. If you're a voice actor, you're going to list your director and your producer and your copywriter. So you can see how it starts to pull all the different roles, professional roles together. It helps solidify us as an industry.
That's a very good point. Dan's doing a mic swap real quick because we've got some very bizarro static happening, so he's going to do that real fast.
That help?
And this is the case with other industries. So,
hang on a second. I'm muting his mic, which is not easy as it should be. There we go. Go ahead. Sorry, please go ahead.
I was just saying this is the case with all other industries. Some that are not so sexy, like the American Dental Association.
Right.
They win awards too. And then what they do there, it's not just the dentist. There are all sorts of professional roles that play a part in what is the Society of Dentists.
Right.
Whether it's a corporation like a banking corporation, whether it's American Express or Costco, all organizations eventually find a way to point the way to the pursuit of excellence.
Mm-hmm.
And you bring everybody together in that process.
Well,
and it doesn't happen by itself. The pursuit of excellence doesn't happen by itself. It's something you have to work at. It's something you have to be mindful of.
Mm-hmm.
And you do things in your life that continue to point the way to that.
Exactly.
Outstanding. All right. I take it I can be heard now, Houston?
It's stronger. It's definitely stronger now.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
We won't talk about what mic that was or what I replaced it with.
Debbie.
Actually, I did replace it with the Harlan Hogan mics.
Oh, okay.
So, we have bandwidth issues, but that's a whole nother issue. So we said that was the last question. I just saw one pop in, and it's maybe a very short answer, Rudy. So a parting shot. Question from Debbie Irwin, who says, hi. She's, how many nominees are there in each category? Is that going to change, or is there a fixed figure you guys are aiming for?
It depends on two things. One, the quality of the work in the category.
Okay.
So if there are 20 people in that category and only 3 of those projects really stand up to the highest level, there will be 3 nominees.
Okay.
But we will max out at 5 nominees.
Gotcha. Maximum is 5. Okay. There you go. I thought that'd be an easy question.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man. You've put a lot of time in with us tonight and answered everything we've had to throw at you, and it's been really, really helpful to understand the award show better.
I appreciate being here. I love what you guys do, and I've learned so much in our little pre-show talk. I learned a lot about you guys and what you're doing with your program, and there was a lot I didn't know.
Cool.
And I'm happy that I know that now, and I love what you're doing.
Well,
thank you.
Sorry, Dan, I didn't mean to step on you. I had heard you on on John Melly's podcast, he's been on our show. All of this stuff is very incestuous.
It's incestuous, yeah.
And I heard him on there, and I was impressed with what you had to say there. And that was another huge reason I wanted you to come on here. So thanks for being here today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
my pleasure.
And say hello to your lovely wife, and good luck with all this.
Thank you.
Excited about it.
Absolutely. Rudy Gaskins, thanks for being with us.
Okay,
all
guys.
Right.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night, everybody. All right. So, all right. I take it you can hear me now.
I can. It's pretty strong now. Now that you're on the Harlan Hogan
VO1A.
Yes.
All right. We won't say what the other mic was, but Harlan will be glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to clean a few things up here, and we'll be right back with a little bit more info and coming attractions right here on East West Audio Body Shop. So don't go away quite yet.
VoiceOver Extra, the voiceover industry's online news, education, and resource center 24/7. Hundreds, probably thousands of free how-to articles for voiceover success, ranging from home studio to voice acting to business. A free voiceover industry directory, calendar of industry events, resource links, a store, and much more. Bi-monthly webinars on all topics of voiceover, free subscriptions to newsletters, reports, announcements, daily news, and features at voiceoverextra.com.
Hey guys, this is Tom, also known as the voice of SpongeBob SquarePants, and you want to fill your ear holes and your eye holes with Dan and George and the East West Audio Body Shop. Ah! Meow! Snails like it too.
We got to get some mileage out of that one.
Yeah, really. Alrighty.
Well, guess what it's time for?
Just sit back and relax. It's time for some announcements.
A little overmodulated there.
Sorry about that. You are frozen. Now you're coming back, sort of.
It goes both ways. All right. Well, first off, so are you? I see. So it's your end because I see everything here.
Yeah, I'm showing low bandwidth from you. It's showing red bars next to your name. So who knows what's going on tonight. Our donors, well, we've got a lot of the usual suspects, which is awesome. And we'll always be happy to thank our any donor, but especially our regulars like Eric Aragoni. Thank you, Eric.
Every week, Eric is with it.
You can always count on Eric. We've also got Patrick Sweeney. Thanks a lot, Pat. He sent one in this morning.
He's been a little busy with baseball this year.
Oh, he has?
So we haven't seen him this summer, yeah. So
we've got sustaining donations coming from Patty Gibbons, Eric Aragoni again. I'm just going back through our list here.
Martha Kahn.
Oh, Martha Kahn. Oh, yeah. Amy Fisher, J.S. Gilbert. Man.
J.S.
What an awesome.
Thank you all.
Yes, thank you, everybody.
We need your help. We can't do this show without you guys because there's few expenses involved.
Yeah, we've got some great sponsors, but your extra donations you guys are giving us on top of that are allowing us to buy like things to drop in the bags at Voice 2014 and maybe even a nomination if we're lucky on Voice Arts Awards. So
yeah, maybe
that's where you guys come in.
Yes. Let's see what else is going on here. Clickers. I still got them.
There's still some left?
So there's still some left.
Okay.
All right. Am I sounding better? Am I unfrozen here?
It's pretty solid now. Pretty solid.
Okay. Well,
5x5.
Turned up. 5x5. All right. Or as they used to say in CBs, wall to wall.
Wall to wall. Wall to wall.
Okay. All right. So if you want a clicker, there's right on our webpage there. It says order a clicker. $5 a piece. We'll send them to you. Not that very day. I usually send them at the end of the month, but you will get it. Let's see. EWABS Essentials. Supposedly we got a bunch of them in there, and it's a sub channel of our EWABS show. What is the?
There's a playlist over at youtube.com/EWABS show.
EWABS show, right?
And EWABS show. There's 2 S's in the middle. And check that playlist out. There, it's slowly growing. I think this summer we slowed down a little bit, but it should pick up quite a bit in the fall. We've got, I think, at least 6 or 7 on there so far. So,
All right. Future shows. Well, finally, we're starting to get caught up here, and we got a lot of cool stuff coming up. We're going to have a fans roundtable. That ought to be interesting. I don't know how we're going to do that one, but
way overdue.
Yeah, but way overdue. Let's have the fans talk to us about what they think about our business. Next week, I'm heading to Southern California, and it's going to be tough for us to put a show together for next week. So,
and I'm going to be taking that time to travel with my family as well, which is a surprise. Don't tell them.
I didn't hear.
Don't tell them.
I won't tell them.
Okay.
All right. So we will not be here next week. So you guys can go off and do what you guys want to do next week. But you have to come back the next week because George and I will be together in Southern California. And our guest is going to be one of our best buddies, a guy who is on our show all the time. Every time when you hear the intro to the show, you hear Dave Quavassier.
That's right.
He has a book coming out about his voiceover career and his blog, and it's really good.
I got to say hi to Dave when I was in Las Vegas. He took me out for dinner. Really great guy. So genuine. And we're lucky to have him out there, you know.
There are a few people like Corvo. I'll tell you, he's one of the best. August 18th, we have a surprise guest.
Oh,
that's a surprise.
Surprised me.
That surprised me too. And then on August 25th, we're going to be putting together our social media roundtable with people who really know the social media side. Derek Chappelle, the lovely Lisa Rice, John Lano, and Jerry Reed. And there's a few other people too. So that'll be another interesting roundtable that we'll have about social media. You don't want to miss that. And we're going to be taping our show. Taping, we don't tape things. It all goes onto a flash drive. We're going to be recording. Right. We're going to be recording our show at Voice 2014. That will be on the first weekend in September. So good. We've got it planned out for a month.
Isn't that nice?
Don't have to worry about it on Sunday afternoon now.
Thanks, Catherine.
That's right. So anyway, that's going to do it for us. We have to thank our sponsors again, like of course our friends over at VoiceOver Essentials, Harlan Hogan, VoiceOver Extra, and of course your marvelous employer Edge Studio. Make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at EWABS_show, and subscribe, of course, to us on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/EWABS show with
click
2 S's.
The like button, the thumb.
Please.
Click it.
Or just use your forefinger.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Acknowledgements. Of course, who do we thank every week, George?
Our wives.
Because without them,
we'd be dead.
Yes. And without us, the toilet would overflow.
That's right.
And all these other things that go on. But thanks to Amy and Marcy for putting up with this for 152 episodes.
Yeah.
Our wonderful producer who's getting us a month ahead, Kathy Curridon, Anthony Gettig for his usual superior job in our chat room, Jack DeGolia for doing the show notes. If you miss a show,
super show notes.
The show notes are there, and Tim McKean for doing the EWABS Essentials, which are of course we said are on YouTube, and Lee Pinney for the podcast. I hear there's a problem with the podcast though. Someone was mentioning in the chat
group
room that. Yet apparently the link is not working or something. So
I will get on it.
There's something for you to do tonight.
That's right.
All righty. Well, that's going to do it for us tonight. Have a great couple of weeks. I will see you in Southern California in a couple of weeks, and that'll be fun. We got to do dinner.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Marcia will be out, the four of us. We got to go out and have dinner.
Yeah,
Leave the kids
double date.
Double date. Absolutely. All right, I'm Dan Leonard in the East.
And I'm George Whittam in the West.
And together we are East-West Audio Body Shop. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Take care. Thanks for watching. Bye.